Welcome back to Plugged In Australia, episode 37, recorded on the 25th of March 2026. Today's a bit of a stacked one. We've got legal and consumer protection stuff that affects real owners right now. We've got a wave of new model news, from affordable EVs nudging the market downwards to premium brands chasing 700 plus kilometre range figures and 800 volt charging. Let's get into it. TrueEV Distribution Proprietary Limited, the exclusive Australian distributor for Xpeng electric vehicles since the brand's local launch, has been placed into external administration, with administrators appointed by instrument to take control of the company's finance and assets, including a stock of 197 vehicles currently being held across Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane and Fremantle warehouses. ASIC documents confirm the change occurred on or around the 19th of March 2026 and was triggered by a lender enforcing security over the imported stock after loan terms were not met. In parallel, TrueEV has launched federal court proceedings in the New South Wales Registry on the 3rd of March 2026 against multiple Xpeng entities, including Guangzhou Xpeng Motors Trading Co. Proprietary Limited, and Shenzhen Xpeng Motors Supply Chain Management Co. Limited, and Xpeng Motors Australia Proprietary Limited. The case is listed for further hearings on the 26th and the 27th of March 2026, with parties required to file evidence and documentation in the interim. Court filings remain limited in public detail, but centre on the ongoing commercial relationship and Xpeng's reported push to assume greater direct control of Australian operations, sales, marketing and after-sales support. The dispute has frozen deliveries and created immediate uncertainty for existing Xpeng G6 owners who have already taken delivery or placed deposits, as well as for planned future models such as the updated G6 facelift, the X9 People Mover and the G9L large SUV that were slated for 2026 rollout. Under Australian consumer law, the collapse of an importer or distributor does not remove consumer guarantees. TrueEV, as the local supplier and deemed manufacturer, because the overseas Xpeng parent does not have a place of business in Australia, remains responsible for the statutory guarantees of acceptable quality, fitness for purpose, correspondence with description, availability of spare parts, and repair facilities for a reasonable time after purchase. Consumers retain the right to seek remedies including repair, replacement, or refund directly from the supplier or its administrators for any major failure, and can also pursue the manufacturer entities named in the court action for damages covering any reduction in vehicle value or reasonably foreseeable consequential losses. The ACL explicitly prohibits exclusions or limitations of these guarantees by contract, warranty document, or point of sale statements. In practice, this means owners facing delayed servicing, unavailable spare parts, or unresolved defects during administration can lodge claims with the administrators or escalate through the courts or ACCC processes. While Xpeng's direct involvement could ultimately strengthen long-term factory-backed support once the legal matter resolves. Now, if TrueEV were to go completely belly up and cease trading entirely, owners would still be protected under the ACL because the dealership where the vehicle was purchased is also classified as a supplier and can be held liable for the consumer guarantees. The dealership cannot simply walk away from its obligations even if the distributor collapses. Owners can therefore approach the dealership of purchase directly for repair, replacement or refund remedies, and the ACL allows them to take legal action against the dealership if necessary. In addition, the administrators of TrueEV would still be required to manage any remaining assets or obligations, and owners can lodge formal claims with the administration process for warranty-related costs or vehicle defects. The overseas Xpeng entities named in the federal court proceedings can also be pursued for damages through the ongoing action, ensuring that the statutory guarantees are not extinguished simply because the local distributor fails. This layered protection under Australian consumer law serves as a hard truth reminder for Australian buyers of any imported brand that third-party distributor arrangements carry real risks when commercial disputes or financing issues arise. Yet the ACL framework provides enforceable protections that overseas only manufacturers cannot easily evade, giving owners clear pathways to remedies even in the worst case scenario of complete distributor collapse. Now, this is general information only based on publicly available Australian consumer law guidelines and is not legal advice. Owners should contact the ACCC or seek independent professional advice for their specific situation. The whole thing really honestly is very upsetting. I know I've seen a lot of people online making many comments. There was a cashback offer that was done and some people still haven't received those cashback offers. So I would implore anybody listening who has any dramas with that, they need to lodge with the administrators. And the administrators are Daniel Juratowicz, and that is spelt Juratowitch, and Barry White, and they are of Core Cordis. So if you just Google Core Cordis, Cordis, they are the administrators in the matter, and they will be the best point of contact if you are having any issues that you need to be remedied. Now, some of you may be driving or not able to write that down, so just when you get a chance, have a look in the description. It will be there in the description. I will make sure to pin that as the very first thing in the description. All right, let's keep going. Mercedes-Benz has confirmed the all-new GLC with EQ technology electric SUV remains on track for Australian deliveries in 2026 as a 2027 model year vehicle, bringing the popular mid-sized luxury SUV nameplate fully into the electric era with a 800-volt electrical architecture, single-motor rear-wheel drive or dual-motor all-wheel drive options, and a projected WLTP ranges between 500 and 800 kilometers. That will be depending on the battery chemistry and wheel size. Lower spec variants will use lithium iron phosphate batteries, while flagship models employ nickel manganese cobalt packs for higher energy density. Peak power in the most potent dual motor configuration is expected to reach around 500 kilowatts with a 0 to 100 kilometer an hour time in the low 4-second bracket. DC fast charging capability is rated to replenish up to about 300 kilometers of range in 10 minutes on suitable charges. The GLC-EQ adopts a more conventional SUV silhouette than previous EQ models, moving away from the highly aerodynamic dedicated EV look, while retaining Mercedes' signature luxury interior with the latest MBUX superscreen, 3-zone climate control, Burmester audio, and advanced driver assistance systems, including the latest generation of a Distronic adaptive cruise control. Dimensions are closely aligned with the current combustion GLC for a familiar packaging, offering generous rear legroom and a practical boot that expands significantly with the 40-20-40 split folding rear seats. Australian pricing is yet to be finalised but is expected to sit in the mid-100,000s range before on roads, positioning it as a direct rival to the BMW iX3 newer Classer, the Audi Q6 e-tron, and the upcoming Genesis electrified GV70 facelift. The local launch timing aligns with Mercedes' broader electrification push and will benefit from the same right-hand drive engineering and Australian-specific suspension calibration already applied to the current GLC range, delivering the refined ride and handling Australian buyers expect on highways and suburban roads. MG Motor Australia has taken a significant step forward, bringing the U9 EV electric dual cab ute to local showrooms after the model successfully completed Australian Design Rule certification and was formally approved for road use, marking the first time an electric version of the brand's new ute platform has cleared the necessary regulatory hurdles. The U9 EV features a dual motor all-wheel drive powertrain, with the front motor producing 200 kilowatts and the rear motor producing 125 kilowatts for a combined system output of 325 kilowatts, giving it strong performance potential while maintaining the practical dual cab layout that Australian tradies and families expect. Brake towing capacity is listed at 3.5 tonne and the payload is rated at 685 kilograms in the certification documents. Figures that closely align with the mechanically similar LDV e-Terron 9. Battery capacity is not disclosed in the Australian filings, but the LDV e-Terron 9 Twin uses a 102 kWh lithium iron phosphate pack that delivers a 430 km WLTP range, and the U9 EV is expected to use a very similar or identical battery given the shared platform architecture. The electric ute is approved with a choice of 18, 19 or 20-inch wheels, allowing flexibility for on-road comfort or light off-road use. Exterior styling differences from the LDV Twin include a full-width light bar connecting the C-shaped daytime running lights, a closed-off grille area with diamond pattern openings, and yellow vertical accents on the front bumper, while the rear remains virtually identical to the diesel-powered MG U9 with vertical taillight clusters and a full-width light bar across the tailgate. MG Motor Australia has not yet confirmed launch timing or pricing for the U9 EV. A spokesperson stated, quote, "While we cannot confirm specific upcoming models or launch timings, we are pleased with the strong response to the MG U9 thus far," end quote, and added that, quote, "MG Motor is committed to supporting lower transport emissions and providing consumers with a variety of vehicle options while still giving Australian drivers the choice," end quote. For reference, the diesel-powered MG U9 is currently priced from $52,990 drive away for the Explore grade up to $60,990 drive away for the flagship Explore Pro. However, no drive away or before on-road pricing has been revealed for the electric variant. The U9 EV could potentially reach Australian customers ahead of its LDV e-Terron 9 cousin, which has seen repeated delays despite earlier 2025 launch promises. This development gives MG a clear pathway into the emerging electric ute segment, where buyers are seeking zero-emission capability with strong towing and payload figures without stepping up to too much upfront cost. The approval is another positive sign for affordable electrified utes in Australia, where the current offering is limited and demand is growing as fuel prices remain elevated and fleets look for lower running costs on daily work routes. The 2026 KGM Torres EVX has arrived in Australian showrooms as a single fully electric variant priced from $58,000 drive away nationwide, offering a practical mid-size family SUV with an 80.6 kWh lithium iron phosphate battery sourced from BYD, a single front-mounted electric motor producing 152 kilowatts and 339 newton meters of torque, front-wheel drive, and a WLTP range figure of 462 kilometers. Energy consumption is rated at 18.65 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. The vehicle measures 4,715 millimeters long on a 2,680 millimeter wheelbase with a curb weight of 1.9 tonne and a GVM of 2.4 tonne, providing a 500 kilogram unbraked and 1,500 kilogram braked towing capacity. Standard equipment includes frequency selective dampers for improved ride comfort, a large touchscreen infotainment system with wide Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, dual zone climate control, heated front seats, 360-degree camera, full suite of advanced driver assistance systems, and a 7-year unlimited kilometre warranty, plus a 10-year unlimited kilometre battery warranty. Real-world testing confirms the Torres EVX delivers a smooth, quiet performance suited to Australian commuting and highway runs, with the BYD battery providing strong cold weather tolerance and fast 130 to 164 kilowatt DC charging capability that adds meaningful range in around 20 to 25 minutes. The retro-inspired SUV styling, spacious 5-seat cabin, and competitive pricing make it a direct rival to the Geely EX5 and the Leapmotor C10 in the growing affordable electric mid-size SUV segment, where buyers want more than 400 kilometers of real-world range without stepping into premium territory. Leapmotor has rolled out a significant over-the-air software update for the B10 compact electric SUV already on sale in Australia. It's introducing one-pedal driving capability that allows most acceleration and deceleration to be controlled through the accelerator pedal alone, with refined energy recovery logic for smoother operation and improved efficiency. The update also adds full native wired and wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto support, expanded voice command functions that now control windows, lights, vents, media, and navigation, quicker infotainment startup times, split-screen navigation, and custom memory shortcuts for personalized ADAS, regenerative braking, and acceleration settings. Additional refinements include a new life detection reminder that warns if a passenger or child is left behind after locking, plus improved charger connector locking logic that automatically secures or releases the plug based on the vehicle's lock status. The B10's existing 60.4 kWh LFP battery, 160 kilowatt front drive motor, and the 420 kilometer WLTP range remain unchanged. Now, a lot of you are thinking, well, how are they going to change the battery capacity and how are they going to change the power and the range on a over-the-air update? Well, you just got to look at Tesla. They unlocked some of the battery pack on their Model Y a few years back, giving the vehicle a longer range. You can also do a software update to get the boost and unlock more power out of the motor, and so changes the WLT figure. So over-the-air update software updates can do a lot more than just infotainment updates. These software enhancements make daily driving more intuitive and efficient for Australian owners in urban and suburban conditions where one-pedal driving is particularly useful in stop-start traffic. BYD Australia is actively exploring the creation of a dedicated performance division to capitalise on surging EV interest driven by record fuel prices, with internal discussions focused on high output variants of existing models and potential halo performance EVs that could rival established hot hatches and performance SUVs in the local market. Paul Ellis, a spokesman for BYD Australia, confirmed the brand is seeking a rapid increase in electric and hybrid sales driven by a combination of rising fuel costs, inflation and interest rates, noting that electric vehicles always make sense but are making even more sense now because people can see the financial benefits. BYD's current Australian lineup already includes a high-performance option such as the Seal Performance with 390 kilowatts. However, a dedicated division would allow for enhanced power outputs, chassis upgrades, distinctive styling, and potentially models like a high-output C-Line 7 or future performance blade battery variants. I will just say, as the owner of a C-Line 7 Performance, I don't understand how much more power you could possibly need. The thing's like a rocket ship. This aligns with BYD's global push for performance models while maintaining the brand's value positioning that has already seen Chinese marquees capture 24% of the national new car market in early 2026. The performance division would deliver Australian tuned suspension and local compliance testing to ensure the vehicles handle our highways, gravel tracks, and variable climate conditions. Giving buyers a genuine alternative to European performance EVs, the strategy reflects the hard truth that while Chinese brands have dominated on price and volume, a performance focus could further accelerate adoption by appealing to enthusiasts who want both savings and excitement without compromising on the practicality Australian families demand on long regional hauls. The latest Electric Vehicle Council ownership survey of more than 1,800 Australian EV drivers shows more than 70% are achieving fuel savings exceeding 60% compared with their previous petrol or diesel vehicle, with electricity costing around 4 times less per kilometre even at peak rates and even greater savings when charged off-peak or with rooftop solar. 93% of respondents charge at home, 85% did so in the previous week, and 73% spend less than $300 annually on maintenance, reinforcing the strong economic case for electrification at a time when many stations are charging well over $2 a litre. Julia Del Vecchio, CEO of the Electric Vehicle Council, stated that EV drivers report cutting their fuel bills by more than 60% after switching to electric, savings that matter more right now than ever before, and that once Australians get behind the wheel, they quickly realise how easy and affordable driving electric can be. The survey also found sharp drops in range anxiety, charging access concerns, and upfront cost worries once owners gain real-world experience, with many pairing EVs with rooftop solar for further savings and expecting to keep vehicles for 6 to 10 years or longer. These findings tie directly to Australian conditions where outer suburbs and regional areas with longer commutes are seeing the highest uptake. delivering annual savings of thousands of dollars that offset any initial price difference and providing genuine energy security against global oil volatility that has pushed petrol prices past $2 a litre in many locations. Subaru has unveiled its first dedicated electric SUV globally beyond the current Solterra, featuring a dual-motor all-wheel drive powertrain with symmetrical all-wheel drive tuning that retains the brand's renowned traction and handling characteristics while delivering competitive performance and range suited to Australian condition. Full Australian specifications, WLTP range figures, and pricing are expected later in 2026, but the vehicle is positioned as a direct rival to the Toyota BZ4X and other mid-size electric SUVs, with Subaru's local engineering team already planning suspension and calibration work to suit Australian roads and conditions. The new model builds on the Solterra's 71.4 kilowatt-hour to 74.7 kilowatt-hour battery upgrades that delivered up to 566 WLTP range in the 2026 facelift, with expectations of similar or improved figures in the fresh SUV. Subaru Australia has confirmed the Trail Seeker variant with 280 kilowatts of power, 4.4 second 0 to 100 kilometers an hour acceleration, and 533 kilometer range will arrive in Q2 of 2026, offering 211mm ground clearance and a 1.5 tonne towing capacity that makes it highly relevant for regional and light off-road use. The global reveal emphasizes Subaru's commitment to electrification while preserving core brand attributes like all-wheel drive confidence and durability, providing Australian buyers with an EV option that feels familiar on gravel tracks, highways, and in variable weather without the range limitations that have historically deterred traditional Subaru loyalists. A major energy network has funded the installation of a new public EV charger and supporting battery storage system for a remote First Nations community, marking an important step in extending charging infrastructure beyond major cities and directly addressing range anxiety for Indigenous Australians in regional and outback areas where traditional fuel supply is often expensive and unreliable. The project introduces solar integration and battery storage to ensure reliable power even during grid outages, delivering low energy costs and greater energy independence for the community while enabling EV adoption for essential services and personal transport. This initiative aligns with the First Nations Clean Energy Strategy and provides a model for similar projects across regional Australia where sparse population and long distances have previously limited EV uptake, offering practical proof that targeted infrastructure investment can make electric vehicles viable for remote operations and reduce reliance on imported diesel that is vulnerable to global shocks. Tesla has pushed back delivery dates for its best-selling Model Y as order volumes continue to climb in response to sustained high petrol prices, with many customers now facing waits of several months for popular variants while the brand ramps up local supercharger expansion to support the increased long-distance travel. Estimated delivery dates on Tesla's new Model Y configurator across multiple variants have increased from a few weeks to an average of around 2 to 3 months, with some customers reporting May-June timelines for orders placed in mid-February. The surge aligns with broader EV interest, jumping more than 190% according to the RACV data. Tesla Australia is responding by accelerating supercharger rollout with more than 148 active sites nationwide and nearly 20 new locations added since August of 2025. Many now open to non-Tesla EVs to ease anxiety on major routes. This demand spike underscores the hard truth that while supply chains and lead times can lag during rapid growth, the economic incentive of switching to electric is becoming impossible to ignore for Australian buyers facing volatile global oil markets. Jaecoo has confirmed more than 2,000 orders for the J5 small electric SUV since its launch and has extended the $36,990 drive-away promotional pricing across all states to maintain strong buyer interest in the competitive sub-$40,000 segment. The offer, originally limited to the first 1,000 customers, now covers an additional 1,000 units and includes complimentary premium paint, making the J5 one of the most accessible electric SUVs on sale with its 402 kilometers of WLTP range, a 155 kilowatt, 288 Newton meter motor, heated and ventilated seats, 13.2-inch touchscreen, and full ADAS suite. The extension reflects robust early demand for the compact crossover that rivals the BYD Atto 2 and MG4 in size and pricing, while offering distinctive styling and practical features tailored for Australian urban and suburban driving. Jaecoo's parent Chery continues to expand its local portfolio, and the J5's success demonstrates how aggressive value pricing combined with real-world range and features can drive volume in a market where fuel prices remain elevated and buyers seek affordable electrification without compromising on everyday usability. The International Energy Agency, also known as the IEA's Executive Director Faith Birol, has been quoted in Australia describing the current distribution from the Iran war as equivalent to, or worse than, the 1970s oil shocks, with oil supply loss estimates cited at 11 million barrels per day compared to around 5 million barrels per day in the twin 1970s shock. The core argument is that the rise of electric vehicles and renewables changes the policy and market response this time, with a push for electrification in transport being one of the expected outcomes. Birol is also quoted saying global EV sales share rose about 5% 5 years ago to 25% last year, and that Australia will see further electrification. A Reuters report likewise describes the fuel crisis as giving electric cars a long-term boost, including in Australia, as fuel prices surge. Put it bluntly, in a country that imports pretty much all of its refined fuel, transport electrification is not just climate play, it's a resilience play. Now to Leapmotor, because they're not messing around in Australia. Leapmotor Australia has launched a new Sports Plus special edition of the C10 electric SUV, with orders open ahead of first deliveries landing next month. Price is listed from $53,888 plus on-road costs, and the point of this edition is basically one thing: power. The Sports Plus brings a dual-motor all-wheel drive system quoted at 440 kilowatts and 760 newton meters of torque, cutting the 0 to 100 kilometers claim from 7.5 seconds in the regular C10 to 4 seconds flat in the Sports Plus. That's a huge delta, from normally family SUV quick to hot EV quick. The technical changes matter more than the decals. The Sports Plus is reported as adding 800-volt architecture and moving to an 81.9 kilowatt-hour LFP battery, described as 12 kilowatt-hours larger than the regular C10, with WLTP range listed at 437 kilometers, only 12 kilometers more than the regular car, which tells you exactly what happened. The extra battery and voltage system are being used to enable performance and charging, not chase max range. DC fast charging capability is listed at 180 kilowatts, up from the 85 kilowatt on the regular C10, and that's a very Australian relevant upgrade because it reduces the pain of highway top-ups for people who do long road trips. On driving control, Leapmotor describes an intelligent all-wheel drive control system with front and rear motor switching that alternates between single motor and dual motor driving depending on road conditions and demand, and claims of millisecond level adaptive response for stability on surfaces like gravel and in the wet. Whether it's brilliant or just fine, it signals the brand knows Australians will take these cars onto bad roads and want predictable traction instead of weird torque moments. Equipment-wise, the Sports Plus stacks quite a bit into the standard spec list. Dual-motor all-wheel drive 800-volt architecture side decals and badging, unique cabin mats and red stitching, a 20-inch wheel package, automatic LED exterior lighting, panoramic glass sunroof, power tailgate, synthetic leather trim, heated and ventilated front seats, heated steering wheel, electric front seat adjustment, dual-zone climate control, a 10.25-inch driver display with a 14.6-inch touchscreen with over-the-air updates, multicolour ambient lighting, and a wireless phone charger. Colour choices are constrained. Only black or white exteriors listed, with black interior only. That's a niche limitation, but the kind people accept if the mechanical package is the real hook. Another policy lever that directly impacts EV pricing, the newly signed Australia-EU Free Trade Agreement. The Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade said the agreement does not eliminate the luxury car tax as previously hoped. However, it introduces a new luxury car tax category with a threshold of $120,000 for zero emissions vehicles. DFAT positions this as helping lower costs and increase uptake of EVs, and it sits alongside the broader tariff removal outcome for European goods. Reuters, reporting on the deal, similarly highlights the LCT threshold lift for imported EU electric vehicles to $120,000, describing that as exempting about 70% of them from the tax. So, luxury car tax is applied at 33% on the portion of the value above the threshold, not the whole price. The ATO's published thresholds for the 2025-2026 financial year list $91,387 for fuel-efficient vehicles and $80,567 for other vehicles, with the 33% rate applying above the relevant threshold. The new zero emissions to $120,000 category is therefore a big deal for premium EVs that currently sit above the existing thresholds, because LCT can add thousands. However, DFAT's pages are under the not yet enforced section, so timing and implementation detail matters. It's a signed deal, not an automatically applied change everywhere overnight. Now, this new rule isn't specific to EU electric vehicles, but all electric vehicles. Now, heavy transport doesn't get the hype of passenger cars, but it's where electrification pushes hardest on emissions and fuel use. Daimler Trucks is preparing for the Megawatt Charging System, also known as MCS, and the eActros 600 is described as the only model in Mercedes-Benz Trucks' current portfolio designed to support optional megawatt charging. The company has been fitting the truck with a placeholder so an MCS port can be added later because the standard is still being finalised. The report says MCS-enabled eActros 600 units are planned to begin testing in the second half of this year, including customer trials tied to the Daimler Truck's own Electrify Inbound Logistics program, with an MCS-capable charging station to be commissioned at the Worth am Rijn plant by mid-year. And sorry if I butchered the name of that plant there, guys. The numbers are the headline. Charging outputs of up to 1,000 kilowatt are discussed, and the expectation cited is that the eActros 600 could charge from 20 to 80% in around 30 minutes on an MCS charger, with the comparison being that the same job can take about an hour on CCS charging up to 400 kilowatts. The reporting also notes the connector interface standard work, which is IEC 63379, is referenced as one component of the standard set. While software and communication aspects are described as unfinished, the Charin is expected to need the rest of the year. This is exactly the it's coming, but it's not finished phase. And Australia should be paying attention, because once megawatt charging becomes normal for long-haul trucks overseas, our freight operators and charger networks will have to decide whether we're followers or laggards. Now the battery reality check. Donut Lab has released 5 independent test reports from Finland's VTT Technical Research Centre regarding its solid-state battery. However, commentary notes that none of those reports verify the 2 claims that would actually make the technology world-changing: a claimed 400 watt-hours per kilogram energy density and a claimed 100,000 cycle life. The same report notes Donut Lab previously set a Q1 2026 goal for delivering production batteries inside Verge motorcycles, with the end of quarter deadline being March 31st. Now, the devil is in the detail here. The latest VTT report described is a cycling test dated March 13th on a cell labelled DL2. However, the context provided is that the cell was already damaged following a prior 100 degrees C high temperature discharge test where the pouch lost its vacuum. Now, this is a big deal for solid-state cells that rely on tight mechanically laid contact. The wider pattern described across the 5 reports is that fast charging, temperature survivability, low self-discharge, and pack-level charging demonstrations have been shown, including a prior report confirming a charge to 80% in 4.5 minutes at 11 C, and another showing 97.7% charge retention after 10 days. But that a clean, healthy cell cycle life test and a straightforward independent energy density verification remain absent. The takeaway for Australian EV buyers is simple. Treat solid-state breakthrough headlines with a massive grain of salt until you see independently verified energy density, cycle performance, and manufacturability, because hype doesn't power cars, cells do. And that's our episode 37 for today, March the 25th. It's a lot of big news today. It's a bit of a longer episode. I do hope that anybody who has an Xpeng that's already taken delivery or someone that's got deposits or anything like that can really navigate these next little while and try and get through it as best they can, because they are really good cars, you know. And the best thing that you can do right now is to stay organized, keep your documentation tight, and understand the differences between your warranty and your statutory consumer guarantees. Make sure you get in touch and sign up for any updates from the administrator. I do hope you enjoyed the episode. Thank you very much for listening. info@pluggedinaustralia.com.au. Until the next time, stay plugged in and stay charged. Ci vediamo.